Hey everyone, and welcome back to Full Throttle Revivals, where we're saving them from the crusher, one classic at a time. So a lot has happened over the span of the last couple of weeks. And anything and everything that could go wrong during the production of my first episode for the project that is behind me has happened. I mean, if it could go wrong, it went wrong. So with that being said, someone very close and dear to me had to have some pretty major surgery done with his pancreas. And so that kept me pretty well occupied for about 2 weeks while all of this was going on. And in the middle of me being there to support him and be there every day for him through this process, something happened to some of my video footage and it was just gone. So we started this project. The video footage that I am missing entails bringing it into the shop and started unhooking all of the electrical and the hoses and this and that and the other from the engine bay so that we could pull the engine. And so that's kind of where I left off, and that's kind of where I'm going to pick up. But I just wanted to give you guys an update. Also, taking my friend 67 miles away to the nearest medical facility that was actually able to do something for him, something really catastrophic happened to my Blazer, and it blew the motor. Now, it got us to the hospital. It just didn't get me back home that night. I ended up having to leave it abandoned on the side of the road, and another good friend of mine was going to happen to be driving by it to come back to where we live with his flatbed trailer, and he volunteered to load it up on his trailer and bring it back to me the very next day, which was absolutely awesome. Mad props to my buddy Chris for doing that for me on such short notice. That was awesome. This is the trail when I started to move it that far after I unloaded it from a trailer. And it spun the #1 rod bearing, and it got us there. She kept going and got us all the way to the hospital, over 67 miles. But it ejected the #1 rod, blowing a hole in the pan, and that was pretty much where I pulled off. Okay guys, so what we have here is my 1995 GMC 3500 1-ton that has that really nice 5-speed manual in it that I am doing a full Vortec conversion on, because now I need this to be my new driver. Obviously, the Suburban has way better interior components, which is what I'm using as a donor for this project. And it has the exact same color interior, so it's going to be great. This is awesome because it's actually complete and in one piece and not all busted and tore up or ripped out. This whole dash has to be changed over to a dual airbag setup, and all of the wiring has to be replaced and updated. The inside's not really too bad. It does need love, and when I'm done, it's going to have the carpets out of that Suburban because they're way nicer. I'm just going to trim them up and hem them in as best I can. And just to make this thing look better, I'll have to cut the hole out, obviously, for the shifter on the new carpet, but that's not a big deal. Fortunately, the headliner's not too bad. It's got one big booger up there, but I can probably like glue that up and patch it up a little bit. I don't know. And that trim piece back there, but I have another truck that I could probably get that from. Anyway, this is how far I've got so far. I've got the wheels pulled off, plan on checking and running through the brakes. When I did hit the brake pedal bringing it in here, it did stop. So the hydro boost system was still pressurized or working. I'm going to try and salvage the hydro boost because I really prefer hydro boost over power brakes. They kind of work better and they make less noise in the cabin when you use them. I am going to have to get a different power steering pump because this pump here that's on the old engine will not fit the bracketry on the new one. So I did find a pump that will fit. That's a hydro boost pump. So pretty much got the exhaust manifolds ripped out except for that one. I've already unbolted it over on this side. I just haven't taken it out yet. Everything is unhooked, undone, drained. I went ahead and pulled the radiator out. I'm gonna go ahead and get this guy out the way here. Ooh, it's all there. I kind of want to save this because I'm not going to be running an EGR on this truck. An EGR is just stupid. I mean, all it does is tear up your friggin' engine, and it only actually works when the engine is idling, so I'm not really going to be idling this much because gas ain't cheap. So, get that exhaust ring out of there. Oh yeah, that's a beautiful exhaust ring. It's pretty well done. That's all right, we'll get new ones. But anyway, here's pretty much where we're at, like I said. And I got to rip most of this out, except for the hydro boost and this system here. I'm not 100% sure if this is going to be compatible with the Vortec setup. I think it is because it looks really similar. So I'm hoping that it will play nice with the programming on the other computer. But the whole harness inside the cab there on the dash has to come out. All of this has to come out. And I have to modify the fuel lines to convert them over for the Vortec fuel injection. And I also am going to have to replace that fuel pump that's back there. It is an electronic fuel pump, but it's been sitting for so long. I'm going to go ahead and get one that fits this tank that is actually pressure rated for the Vortec. So I know I don't have any hiccups there. And anyway, so we're going to go ahead and finish trying to get this monster out of here. And I can say I at least got something done on it. Well, guys, there she is, out at last. It took a good minute. It was being a little stubborn, but it got out. Now, I know this motor did run, but it ran really bad, and I'm not really interested in doing anything with it. I mean, it's just a TBI 350. If I need a 350, I can possibly rebuild it, but I've got a few of them laying around. As you can tell, there's one there, got a few out there. So, anyway, this, to me, is definitely a milestone. Despite everything I've got going on, spending all my time in a hospital and everything, I'm glad I was able to get this done. Now it's time to finish ripping all this stuff out, all up in here, because we got to convert this thing over to a newer model. Shouldn't be too difficult, especially seeing as how this doesn't need a tranny cooler and stuff. It's going to be a lot easier. I will be adding a engine oil cooler in front of the condenser coils for the engine. And after we get this all ripped out, we'll start ripping the dash and all of it harnesses out and start adapting over to Vortec from the donor. Got the wiring harness out. I got a lot of the lines out. I'm going to replace the condenser. And we're going to start getting ready to convert this engine bay over. And then while I was busy doing that, I also wanted to see what my mags would going to look like on this. And I have to say, it's going to look pretty sweet. I think it's going to look really, really cool. Anyway, so now it's time for the interior. Got to pull all of that out. I don't really have to pull the column, I don't think. I think I can tear everything out that I need to around it. We're going to find out. Anyway, let's get started. So guys, before we get started on the interior, my good buddy Brant has showed up.
How we doing, guys?
And he is going to help me finish this up because, well, life happened. And so now that life is giving me a break, I can get back to this. And now I'm on the downward slope of the Rocky Mountain Highway through hell. That has been my life for the last 11 days. I am now ready to get back to this. So, Brant, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Let's get her done, man.
Let's do it.
So like I said, there were things living under the hood, and there was definitely something living in here. Yummy. Well, time to get started. But first, we're going to empty this mess out, get everything out of here, and probably go ahead and vacuum all of this and definitely that out of here. Ew, yuck. Ooh, it has a new turn signal switch. I just noticed that. Yay.
Well, I found something that used to be alive. Ew. Oh my God. Vacuuming first.
Well, everyone, there she is, back in the shop after we took it outside and washed everything out really good. It's been fully stripped of all of the wiring and harnesses that we need to remove so that we can put our donor 5.7 liter harness, computer, dash, and harness in here. But as you can tell, it cleaned up pretty good. Not bad. Not bad at all. I'm going to give it some touch-up paint and get rid of that orange. Stuff like that. I'm going to, just touch her up here before we drop a motor in here. But it actually cleaned up really, really nice. Really, really nice. So the interior, the floor pans in this thing are amazing. I mean, it's like the day it was new in here, thank goodness. Some more cleanup work to do, but we got all the stuff out so that we can switch it over and get it rewired. And it's just looking a lot better. Got all the crap out of the bed. Got it all washed up a lot better. There's some stuff that just won't come out from over the years. She lost a lot more paint. Obviously, a whole lot more paint. But it's okay, though. It's going to be a really good looking truck. I'm really excited, and I can't wait. It's going to be great. So, there you have it. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for part 1 of the 1-ton dually 5-speed manual Vortec conversion. So, next episode, part 2, we're going to start tearing into our donors and get everything we need, the harnesses. We're going to get the dashes and everything so we can get everything all switched around and get it installed in this guy. And we'll start trying to put this sucker back together. Until then, we'll see you guys.